Welcome to the 5G podcast.
We're glad you're here.
We hope you enjoy our conversation about God, guns, games, goals, and gastronomy.
Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode.
I did not go to sleep last night.
Not at all. You messaged it or the email went out at 11:50. What?
The email?
Yeah, for Spotify.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, your episode is finished processing.
Yeah. We went to Wonka last night to go see the new Wonka movie, and then it was 9:00, and Ryan was like, "I'm going to bed," and I was like,
9:00. Okay.
All right, fair enough. So she went to bed, and I was like, well, normally we go to bed together,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll watch TikTok and chat, and but if she's gonna go to bed now, I don't want to go to bed now.
Yeah.
So I stayed up, and then 10:00 is normally when I get ready for bed and go to bed. And 10:00 came and went, and I was like, but I'm
still not tired.
Still not tired. I just kind of want to sit here and chill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just at my computer, watching YouTube, editing the podcast, uploading the podcast, doing
just
all that
chilling,
stuff, just chilling. And then 1:00 rolled around, and I was like, I'm getting up at 6 to go over to Trevor's tomorrow.
Nice.
I should probably go to bed.
This is going to be our loopy late night episode then. Yeah.
I do really well on very little sleep.
Low sleep. You have to crash eventually, but
But it takes a while for me.
Mm-hmm.
If I do today normally and go to bed tonight at a normal time,
mm-hmm.
I'll be fine. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It won't affect today. If I did it 3 days in a row,
yes.
That's when I would be in trouble.
I've come up with a hypothesis. I don't know if this is real. Sleep scientists could probably prove me wrong, but I'm of the opinion nobody is ever truly well rested. I think we're in a constant state of tiredness. Just like the entropy of the universe, I just feel like that's an immutable law, is that you're just always tired. You're never gonna get 0% tired.
Ooh, that's a good way to put that.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like a battery where as soon as you're done sleeping, it's already starting to drain?
It's already starting to drain.
Once you take the charger out of the phone or,
mm-hmm.
Take it off the charger or whatever.
Yeah.
It's starting to drain because it's being used.
I can see that. That's a good analogy for it.
Because when you're sleeping, you're not tired.
No.
But I've woken up more tired than when I went to bed before.
Exactly. And
actually, I do that most of the time.
Most of the time. And sometimes I'll be like, man, I'm so tired. I'm going to go to bed early at 9 or whatever. Wake up the same time the next morning at so I got an extra hour of sleep. I should feel better. No, I feel exactly the same I do every morning. So then I'm like, why? I should feel better. I don't know. You could say that I was extra tired, so I needed the extra hour of sleep. But in most of my cases, I'm not actually extra tired. I'm just bored and want to go to sleep.
There's two things that I have thoughts on this of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, three things. The first one, I'll go from least realistic to most realistic.
Okay.
The first one is that I've heard someone say don't feel lazy if you want to sleep all day. You're a mammal. Look at other mammals. All they do is sleep all day.
Yeah, that's true.
Look at a dog or a cat or these other predator
mm-hmm.
animals, bears.
Yeah, hibernate for months.
All they do is hunt, eat, and sleep.
It's a fair point.
So there's that. That's
mm-hmm.
the one where I'm okay.
All right, sure.
What was my second one?
Point number 2. Already lost it.
Jeez. Oh, I don't think we sleep in modern society
mm-hmm.
correctly.
Oh, okay.
Because
the 8-hour block.
The 8-hour block I don't think is correct, and it used to be different. We used to not do it.
Yeah.
It used to be a 4-hour block, and then you would wake up and have a midnight snack, basically.
Yeah.
Or sit around the campfire and talk, and then you do another 4-hour block after 2 hours or so.
Interesting.
Because that's what your body's
it goes
rhythm,
through the REM cycles as well.
But it's a 4-hour cycle, and then you come out of sleep,
mm-hmm.
and
so you might as well be awake doing stuff, being productive.
But you're still supposed to be relaxed during that time, because you're not supposed to wake yourself up necessarily.
Yeah.
But you go have a snack or whatever, and
do some light reading,
something, just to relax.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have another 4-hour cycle
Gotcha.
I've heard that's the ideal way to sleep, but that takes like 10 hours.
Yeah, and like modern society just can't really conform to that at this point. So
the third one, and this is the real one, I think, is I was listening to this human biologist talk about modern society and the way we eat food, the way that food is processed, the way all this other stuff, and how it affects our bodies. And he said that no one in the world feels good right now.
Oh.
Because in his experience, his clinical experience, everyone that he treats says, I feel amazing right now. He says, no, you feel normal right now.
Oh, okay. That's, yeah.
And so everyone feels like crap right now, but our normal is just crap.
Yeah.
And so like, if we, like you and I, like, I feel fine, right?
Feel pretty okay.
Feel pretty good. But we're not supposed to feel this way, apparently. We're supposed to feel like
even
10 times better.
Okay.
But that should be the normal. And then anything on top of that. And so I think that probably plays a part into it.
That's kind of like my analogy of like, you're always at 99%. You're never.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think his theory is like we're always running at like 50%.
Right.
So
interesting.
I don't know what to think about that other than that.
Other than that.
So
basically, get some sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Naps are great.
Naps are good on like Saturdays and Sundays.
Yeah.
I can't nap on weekdays.
No chance.
Unless it's at work.
I wish, like in Dungeons and Dragons, right? Elves, they have just the 4-hour trance, the 4-hour sleep, and then they're well rested after that. I'm like, ooh, if I could trade that out.
For sure.
That'd be nice.
Honestly, if I could trade anything out for being well rested.
Well, yeah. I'm playing a fantasy game, and this is the most unbelievable part. These people get well rested after 4 hours or 8 hours for normal people?
No way. Especially after just like fighting a battle. I don't know if you remember how you felt the night and the day after a wrestling tournament.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Like it'd be like, Friday, Saturday or whatever, and you would wake up and you'd wake up on Sunday or whatever. And you would normally I would go to bed super early because the tournaments would always go to like into the evening, right?
Yeah,
We'd be done and get home around 8 or 9.
Sure.
Right? And I'd always go to bed then.
Crash, yeah.
And then, I'd like shower obviously and all that stuff. But then I'd go to bed and just crash, and then I'd wake up. I didn't have an alarm on Sundays unless church was early, but normally it wasn't that early. And so I would go and, crash for 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I'd wake up exhausted. And my body just hurt. And every time I was like, I could sleep for another 10 hours right now.
Yeah.
And usually when I got home from church, I slept for another 10 hours.
The rest of the day, yeah. And then you had to wake up and go back to school or whatever.
Yeah. Morning practice.
That was your whole weekend, was just sleeping?
Sleeping and fighting other humans.
Yeah, that's pretty exhausting.
I was always so tired that even after individual matches during tournaments,
you try to nap or whatever.
I would take a nap.
Yeah,
I would go to sleep. I would be so exhausted, and I'd get so cold because of the energy expenditure that I'd put all my warm-up sweats back on, and I even had a blanket that I took with me most of the time. And I'd drink a Gatorade and just crash in the corner for an hour until I was up to wrestle again.
So your next
and
match.
Then I'd go warm up again, get loose and whatever. And then I'd go wrestle for 15 minutes or 12 minutes or whatever it is. And then go back and take another nap.
Crazy.
Every single time. I don't know why.
Yeah, interesting.
It wasn't like a ritual of mine or anything like that.
No,
it just kind of like happened.
You're just trying to charge the battery back up.
Exactly.
Like any little bit you can get.
Yeah. I was talking with a buddy of mine in Utah who wrestled in high school as well. And, in high school, like I didn't consider myself like a great wrestler.
Sure.
I wasn't trash by any means, I don't think, but I was not even close to like top tier.
Yeah.
Like senior year, I was definitely one of the worst guys on our varsity team. But our varsity team was ranked 23rd in the nation.
Yeah. Right.
So And like,
and did you wrestle heavyweights varsity year?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, which was not your comfortable weight class.
No, I was 220.
220. Yeah.
In fact, my freshman and sophomore years, I was 195.
Right. Yeah.
I had to cut weight on my sophomore year to get to 195.
Mm-hmm.
But freshman, I was 195. I had to cut to get to 195 freshman year as well.
Oh, okay.
If I wanted to wrestle 195.
Yeah.
But that should have been like my weight class. Was 195. Especially sophomore year. Sophomore year, I was weighing in at like 205.
Mm-hmm.
Like after a full day of eating. And things like that. Like right before practice, I was 205. So, 10 pounds, that's like not eating and taking a big dump.
Yeah.
And trying to, cut a little bit. But so freshman and sophomore year. Freshman year, I actually wrestled heavyweight as well. Because we just didn't have anyone.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was the biggest guy in the freshman group.
You're like,
and so
you got to wrestle up, yeah.
Yeah, I had to wrestle heavyweight. And then sophomore year, I wrestled 220 and heavyweight, depending on the...
I remember.
Because I wasn't on like a team. It was just at tournaments is what I would go to. And so whichever,
Whichever one had a spot open?
Yeah. I actually did better at the heavyweight stuff, though, which is weird.
Yeah.
The 220-pound guys were just faster than me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
At that point, they had muscles. The heavyweights just were fat.
True.
Yeah.
But I had more strength than most of the heavyweight guys.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have the speed of some of the lighter 220 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then sophomore year, I wrestled heavyweight. Junior year, I wrestled heavyweight. And I wasn't a true heavyweight.
No.
I was never a true heavyweight.
No, yeah.
Because the heaviest I ever got...
It was like 230, right?
My senior year was 235.
Yeah.
There's only 15... And I was trying to gain weight actively, which it all just decided to come after wrestling season. Because I got up to 250 during the throwing season.
Really?
Because I threw shot put and discus, right?
Yeah.
And all we would do, we ran half a mile and then lifted.
Wow.
And then threw heavy objects. That's like there was zero, and I mean zero.
No
cardio.
Yeah, no cardio, no conditioning, no nothing.
None. Zero.
Half a mile.
Yeah, and that was with the entire track team. So it was like 400 kids.
Everybody warmed up.
Yeah.
Running half a mile.
Yeah, and then they would all go run.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the track team would go run.
Nice.
And I would sit there and with a shot put. Anyway, I don't know where that was going.
You said your buddy up in Utah.
Yeah, I don't know where that was going either, though.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, probably something about wrestling.
Wrestling, obviously.
Oh, he was talking about a tournament that they went to. Oh, he went to Reno. What's the tournament in Reno called?
I thought it was called Reno, or we always just called it Reno. I thought.
Yeah, it's something. It's the biggest tournament.
It's at least in the West. Yeah. I mean,
I think it's in like the nation.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Biggest high school wrestling tournament in Mountain View. Our high school, my senior year, we placed second there, which is like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Right, like a huge deal. And my buddy was talking about his team also went to it.
Oh.
And he was like super proud that his team, out of like the 1,000 teams that go, placed in like the top 250. And I was like,
yeah,
our wrestling programs were of a different caliber.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm not saying we were better than you,
but objectively we were better than you.
Yeah. That speaks to the wrestling program.
Yeah. Anyway,
shall we talk about movies?
Shall we get to our actual agenda that we had planned? Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
You and I both went and saw movies this week.
Yeah. What did you write? Put on my bullet point. You wrote God Lizzo.
Is that what I put?
Yeah. You swapped the Z's and the L.
God Lizza.
God Lizza. He's the God Lizard. Godzilla.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. There's a spoof in World of Warcraft. You fight this big Hydra called Gazrilla, and it's a clear parody of Godzilla, obviously.
Sure.
So that's Godlizza. That's our parody. Anyway, I saw the Godzilla -1. -1. It's below 0. Yeah, which was a stellar movie. You and I already talked about it a little bit, but man, I can't recommend it enough. That is probably my top movie of 2023, which again is a pretty low bar.
That's fair.
This year, but it was super unique, and it was just like flew under the radar. Like didn't have this big Hollywood advertisement behind it. It even like it was at theaters at like the start of December, and it was even gonna like start to come out of theaters, and then like more people like went to go see it, so then they decided to keep it in theaters a little bit longer. So that's cool. It was just a solid movie. It was very refreshing to have just like a well-written story. From beginning to end, there were these themes that were the same throughout the movie, and not just like generic like my family. Like I don't know. I feel like looking back at like in an English class, right? You can look back at like classic novels or classic movies and be like, yeah, you know, and they had these themes and boop-a-doo, and you're like analyzing it as like a literary masterpiece or whatever. I feel like this movie was that.
Interesting.
I feel like, yeah, if I wasn't in English class, I could break this movie down and like analyze the plot and the themes they used, and even on from the movie standpoint, like the cinematography, the sound design, all of that like woven together, just seemed really cool. It was refreshing because I haven't really seen anything like that lately.
Sure, yeah.
Everything's just been superhero movies where the theme is bad guy evil, good guys kill him.
Bad guy like mediocrely evil as well.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He's not even a well-written bad guy.
Yeah.
And okay, so that's one complaint. The bad guy is Godzilla. Woo. You know, there's not a compelling backstory.
But the problem, this is, I think, a giant lizard that is pissed.
Yes. Every Godzilla movie inherently since the beginning has been about him as a force of nature, and it's been some sort of message of like anti-nuclear, or at the very least anti-war. And so this one, they didn't really go off of that because the anti-nuclear message doesn't really make sense anymore. So it is more just like, here's the conflict. He's a force of nature that needs to be stopped because Japan like can't deal with a giant dinosaur attacking them.
Yeah. Right
after World War II. That's when the story takes place. So it's literally 1946. Yeah, 1945, and there's a couple like you see time skips, and they'll put the year and the month up or the season, so you get to see some of the time progress. And the movie ends in 1947.
Yeah, so it's like over right after World War II.
That's why it's Godzilla -1, because Japan was at 0 already, and then Godzilla comes, and it's just adds insult to injury. Takes them to -1. But yeah, it was all in Japanese. And so they just have the English subtitles up on screen. And despite that, the emotions of each scene were so well captured. I'd argue like you almost don't need the words to understand what's going on. I think I do. I think it was that well done.
Wow.
There were just particular scenes of like our main character. He's got like his coworkers, his buddies that he works with, which I thought was funny because they're all kind of the stereotypical like anime personalities.
Sure.
You got the one serious like stoic friend. You got the goofy comic relief guy, and then the old wise mentor character who ends up like he's so mysterious, but he's just like, oh yeah, he's really smart. They don't know anything about him. Turns out he was like a secret weapons tester for the military, and he ends up helping them like fight Godzilla.
Oh gosh.
They're like, oh, we didn't know that. They weren't war buddies, but they were all they all had military experience.
And so did every other Japanese person,
exactly,
in 1946.
Except for the comic relief guy. That was his little mini story arc, is that he was like just slightly young enough.
Oh, where he didn't get
to go, and so he's like, man, I wish there was another war so that I could go. And they were like, hey, no, no, you don't. Which was one of the cool themes of the the value of a life was a huge theme in the movie, because historically Japan had zero value of life. Like, and they mentioned that in one of the scenes of like the kamikaze pilots. They straight up built planes without ejector seats. They listed
anything.
Yeah, they listed a couple things of that where it's just like, yeah, there was no value placed on individual life. And so that's as they're gearing up for their final counteroffensive on Godzilla. They're like, that ends today. Like, everybody's coming back home alive. So it was total swap. It was cool to see from the historical aspect, and then like Godzilla brought them together.
Yeah,
it seems dumb. It seems cheesy talking about it in a Godzilla movie, but it was cool. Another major theme was for our main character. He's kind of PTSD.
Oh yeah,
as I told you the other night, of like he was a kamikaze pilot, chickened out at the end.
Yikes!
And so he brought dishonor to his family. And he had to live with that.
How did that go? Sorry.
You bring dishonor to your family. It's probably more Chinese, but
that was hilarious.
So he gets shamed for that, right? And then he was also there the first time Godzilla attacked and saw a bunch of people die in front of him. So he has all this trauma, and this girl he meets up with, they end up I won't go into that a whole bunch, but he's basically not cultivating a romantic relationship with this girl when he could. But if it's just because his PTSD won't let him. He's just he just cannot. And so it's for him, even though the war is over, his war wasn't.
Yeah.
And so he kind of saw Godzilla as that for him. And that's why it was kind of cool. He ended up with some military buddies, and he ended up being connected to the final offensive against Godzilla. He was able to go
redeem himself.
Yes, yeah.
That's cool that there's a redemption story inside of the. You gotta love a good redemption story.
Yeah, and it's just very different to any other Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
it's just Godzilla is there, but the human story is actually so fantastic.
That's sick.
I can't say that about other Godzilla movies or Transformer movies or anything with big monsters.
Ryan and I went and saw the newest Transformer, the Beast Planet of the Apes looking one.
I saw the first half of that, and then
it was mediocre to say the least. I mean, it was. Yeah, it wasn't amazing.
No.
I mean, Transformers are cool, so
they're cool. So
watching them transform and then battle it out is always sick.
Yeah, totally.
And the fight scenes were classic Transformer fight scenes where you're wow, that is brutal.
Mm-hmm. Just giant robots.
But then the storyline behind it, it's kind of
they got to get the McGuffin.
Yeah, there's 3 McGuffins.
There's 3 McGuffins this time.
I think there's 3 McGuffins.
That makes sense.
There's only 1 McGuffin.
I think they've downgraded then. I feel like Transformers 2 or 3, they split the MacGuffin into 1 million parts or something.
I don't know. You know what else is funny? The word MacGuffin.
MacGuffin is a very funny word, yeah.
The MacGuffin, the big bad evil guy.
Yeah.
The BBEG.
The BBEG.
The BBEG. The BBEG and the MacGuffin.
We're gonna get the MacGuffin to kill the BBEG.
But the BBEG is trying to get the MacGuffin.
Oh no, he split the MacGuffin. And sounds like another language.
That's the title of this episode. BBEG and McGuffins.
The BBEG and the McGuffins.
The BBEG and McGuffins.
Yes.
The MacGuffin like some muffins.
To sum up, or rather to add on the addendum, Godzilla movie. The BBEG is Godzilla, obviously, and you expect a Godzilla movie to have excellent Godzilla scenes, and it really does. It looked fantastic.
Sick.
On a surprisingly low budget of only $15 million, and the stuff they pulled off looks amazing.
Yeah.
Because it takes place in 1940s, and the first Godzilla movies came out in the actual 1950s, and this is some of the same animators, some of the guys from the same studio that were doing original Godzilla stuff. I don't think straight the 50s, but some of the later stuff, it's that same studio. It looks a little nostalgic. It's a little retro. He's not quite just a big clay puppet, but in the scenes where Godzilla is, they do good camera work. And the music, as I said, is good as well. the angles that they give you make you just feel tiny to this ginormous dinosaur, right?
That's cool.
And some of the zoomed out shots is some of that like retro nostalgia feel where he looks like a little animatronic when he's like stomping around. And so if you think like, oh, that's kind of cheesy, then you get to like his charge up sequence, and they pulled out all the stops for the CGI. They just
blew all the CGI budget on that.
Yeah, dude, because he's just like he's stomping through the city, he's chucking trains and buildings or whatever. His tail swipe comes around. There's one scene he stomps on the street, and the street does the fracture.
Yeah,
you see like bodies go flying as it, and you're like, that's pretty cool. And that scene in particular, you literally just see his giant foot come down. Like the camera work was fantastic. And then his charge up sequence, dude, the whole CGI budget was on that. Of like he slowly like starts charging up from his tail, his crystals start glowing, and they're extending from his back. He charges up his nuclear bomb blast. Oh, it's fantastic. The theater was like kind of like Oppenheimer, which I still never saw. But it was
you never saw Oppenheimer?
No, I probably should have after you kind of give it high praise.
Yeah, I thought it was a great movie.
It's probably out on streaming somewhere now, but it's
I think it is.
I mean, Godzilla's breath was like literally a nuclear bomb. I mean, so it had that same sort of like, I don't know, show-stopping
reverence,
effect.
like
yeah, he like shoots a blast. It's insane. It's just, and then there's like the brief like silence, and then the blowback from the vacuum, the differential pressure created, and then after that, it's like silent. It was cool.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Oppenheimer is a very different movie than like a standard like go to the movies and like watch like a bad guy punch a good guy and the good guy punch a bad guy. Very different.
Gotcha.
But it was fantastic.
Godzilla was a good popcorn flick. It was good to go and just enjoy the movie.
Would you watch it again?
I would, actually. I was thinking about it the other night when I was telling you and calling about it. I was and driving home with my wife in the car. I was like, I could go see Godzilla again. I got excited talking about it.
Well, maybe we need to plan a bros date.
Just go again. I mean, I would gladly see it.
Tuesday night is $5 movie tickets.
It's not a bad idea.
So
Godzilla -1.
Yeah.
Tell me about your movie.
Yeah, so I watched this movie. It was called Playboy.
Oh, that one already came out? I was waiting for that one.
No, Ryan and I, we were chatting yesterday, and we were like, let's go to a movie tonight.
Ooh, date night.
So we were like, well, what's out? And so we were like looking through the list and whatnot.
Not much.
And we were like, we don't really want to see any of these except Godzilla and Wonka.
Wonka, yeah.
And I wanted to see Wonka, so I wasn't like disappointed that we didn't go see Godzilla.
Yeah. You lost a bet. It's fine, Steven. You flipped a coin.
Pulled straws.
Yeah.
Straws.
Oh.
No, so we went and saw Wonka. And so this Wonka, so there's two movies previous to this, right?
Yeah.
There's the Gene Wilder one and the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah.
And they're different characters in both of those, and it's like different like story arcs and stuff like that. Both of those movies are like decent, but the Gene Wilder one is, in my opinion, objectively better.
Oh, I would agree. I think most people would.
And this one is a prequel because it's a young Wonka.
Okay.
And it's specifically a prequel to the Gene Wilder.
Oh, okay. I would have thought they did a...
No, so they're
combining.
They're not getting rid of the Johnny Depp one, but this is specifically for the Gene Wilder version.
In this multiverse, the WCU, the Wonka Cinematic Universe.
I hate that. I hate that. No, so it's a prequel of the Gene Wilder Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of set in a little bit of a like turn of the century, maybe 1930s type.
Yeah.
You know, like the cops ride bicycles.
I've seen some of the trailers for that. Yeah, it kind of looks like old.
There are like old-timey, like, 1930s, 40s cars.
Mm-hmm.
So,
there's cars at least.
That's kind of like the ambiance. And there's still like the idea that there's like the upper crust and the poors.
Right, yeah.
There's still like this huge like gap between them where like the top of society doesn't even talk about the poor.
So then it's like Industrial Revolution type, where everybody's trying to become millionaires, basically.
Very Industrial Revolution.
Business.
Because the upper crust of society is not necessarily the monarchy or anything like that. It's the business, the big wig
the Rockefellers, the JP
Morgans, the Morgans.
No relation.
The Schwabs.
No.
Yeah, and you got kind of screwed out on that last name there, didn't you?
Yeah, no. Again, no relation, unfortunately.
Although we probably wouldn't be friends if there was relation.
Also true. Yeah.
You'd be sitting in New York sipping your tea.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. How can we screw over the poor today?
Oh, yes. My great-granddaddy
Why are you in New York
JP?
with a British accent?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so we went and saw it, and I had heard... when I saw the trailer originally, I was interested to go see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw some things coming out saying like, "Oh, this is just a musical," and I was like, well, "So is the freaking Gene Wilder one.
Yeah,
like they sung all the time in that one. Like I'm like, but they're like, no, they sing the entire movie." And I was like, okay. Yeah. But then my brother went and saw it, and my brother has a decent taste in movies, and so I was like, and he gave it pretty high praise, and so I was like, okay, well, right. if he liked it. And he's not a musical fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of like going to the plays and the musicals and the opera. Like I like that type of thing. And so for me, if he gave it praise where he doesn't like to do that type of thing necessarily, I'm like, oh, well, then I'll probably do it as well. And whoever was like, oh, I can't believe they made this a musical, you can go screw yourself. Frankly, because first of all, they don't sing the entire time.
Yeah.
There are some very, very tastefully done musical segments.
Okay, yeah.
Where it's like, and it's not like these long-winded like.
No, they're just telling part of the story.
And the way there's a difference between. You always say show don't tell.
Show don't tell is an excellent way to write a story.
And the musical aspect in a movie, a song, for example, is a great way to progress a storyline. By explaining and showing at the same time.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
They're explaining what's happening and they're dancing through the scene at the exact same time.
Yeah, it has the same effect as like a montage in a movie.
Exactly.
Just like we're just speeding through things.
And so these 5-minute songs get you all of the background information that you need on the situation that these characters are in.
Yeah, or probably even like some character development too. You can tell like who's singing the line and what they're saying.
Exactly. And so it's in my opinion, it's a fantastic way to do it.
Yeah, certainly.
The musicality in this movie was fantastic. The songs were super well written. They explained the storyline amazingly.
Nice.
The first 5 seconds of the movie is him saying, I can see the land. Because he's coming on a boat, right?
Oh, okay, basically. Yeah, to the New World or something.
No, it's like England area. Okay. It feels like England or France or something like that.
Gotcha.
But he's coming from his journeys, so he's probably a young or a late teenager, young adult in his
That's true, because in the canonically, he had to go find the Oompa Loompas or whatever. And...
Yeah, so they kind of retconned it out a little bit.
Oh, all right.
It wasn't a horrible way to do it.
But he traveled a decent amount.
He traveled the world collecting all these these magical ingredients.
Fun.
And then so we're coming back, and he on his journeys he was perfecting his chocolatiering basically. Yes. And so he's ending his journeys to finally come and open his shop. That's where we're settle down. Yeah. That's where we're entering the movie, right? And so he said he's at the top of this mast, and you see him looking out, and he goes, "Land ahoy!" And then he spirals down the thing and starts singing this song.
All right. And give you all the exposition in the song.
All the exposition in the song, where it's I've been doing this for 7 years. I've got this much money left. This is the situation that I'm in. I'm trying to do this.
And here's what I'm gonna do.
And it's a 4-minute song.
Cool.
And it's very well sung. And there's a storyline in between it because he starts with 12 florins, which is the currency. I think it's florins.
That sounds right. A florin?
No, it starts with an S.
Shekels.
Sovereigns.
It's
a sovereign. He starts with 12 sovereigns in his pocket. And then by the end of the song, he's down to 1.
Yikes.
And so you're like, ah. And then from there, he gets into the problematic situation number 1, which prompts him to do X, Y, and Z, which actually leads him to the actual problematic situation that the movie is kind of based on. And from there, they solve that problematic situation. And those two problematic situations, I'm trying not to spoil the movie too much.
Sure.
Those two are intertwined in a very good way throughout the movie because they're interrelated in terms of like how he has to get around certain things. But then you find out they're actually connected in the end, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then there's, some good, chase scenes where he's running from the cops, and there's some good little action, like not action necessarily, but but like some pretty fun stuff.
Where the pace picks up, and then you're like, oh yeah, edge of your seat type thing.
Yeah, and there's not that. It's not like 100% a musical. I don't know what these people were saying. They only sing the entire time.
No.
It's probably 25% musical.
Yeah, it sounds like people have never seen a musical.
Yeah.
Making those claims.
Yeah. It's like someone who's never seen like Gone with the Wind or Sound of Music or something. Like Sound of Music is the one that's like all music all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's definitely in. It was a great movie.
Yeah, that sounds like good, wholesome family fun.
Oh yeah, 100%. Very wholesome, very fun. There was no swearing, no.
Nice. There
was like a little bit of like, not sexual humor, but like romantic humor.
Oh, okay. It's like for the adults.
Well, but it wasn't even like penis jokes.
No.
It was the two of the bad guys. Like he's pretending to be. He has like a pair of like short lederhosen on.
Yes.
And he is like showing his bum off to like the mistress of the house or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like funny.
Sure.
It wasn't like raunchy or anything like that at all. And
it's like yeah, the kids can come watch this one.
Oh, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. And it's not even like Shrek, where it's like, all right, some of the things he says are
no
way over the head of the kids.
No, there was no jokes like that. And
just pure entertainment.
It was just a good movie, man.
That's cool.
Like I would highly recommend it. Nice. If not in the theaters,
certainly when it comes out.
Certainly when it comes out, I would recommend the watch.
Nice.
And it's short runtime.
Yeah, hour and a half.
2 hours. I think it was like an hour and 40 minutes or something like that.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
and
it was enjoyable the entire time. I wasn't like sitting there like halfway through where I was like, oof.
Was this movie over?
Yeah, can we hurry this up, please?
Okay. I see. I hadn't heard much about it, but like that seems pretty good.
No, definitely
worth the watch.
Definitely worth the tickets to the movie.
Yeah,
definitely. And if not, like definitely worth a watch on Netflix or whatever.
Yeah, my initial opinion is just like, I'm not a huge fan of Timothée Chalamet, but that was like when I first saw the trailers, I was like, I want a movie with that guy. But like,
he does really well.
All right, that seems fine.
He does really well, and like,
it's not like I hate the guy, so it's like I'll still watch the movie with him, but that wasn't what was going to draw me in, and I know they were like,
yeah, I don't love him in. Like, I'm kind of on the same boat as you.
He's kind of like an up and coming actor.
Well, previous to this movie, I was like, it's like he's like a decent actor. Like I don't like hate his acting. It's not like I find him a horrible actor.
Yeah.
Or an offensive human being in general or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just have never seen anything. Like in Dune, he was okay, but then I read the book and I was like, maybe you miscast a little bit after reading the book.
Sure.
Like I couldn't really match the character of Timothée Chalamet as
to what
Paul Atreides in the movie to the book Paul Atreides.
Yeah.
So like there was that, but like I saw the movie and I thought he did really well in it. And the second one's coming out in March, and I'm so excited for that. Even though I know you didn't really love the first one, I still.
Maybe I'll rewatch it around the time the second one comes out. That's what my dad's doing. He hasn't seen the first one. He's like, no, I'm just gonna wait till the second one. He's as stubborn as you with like TV shows. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna wait till the whole thing's out.
Well, to be fair, it's a very, very dense book.
Yeah,
and so I'm glad that they're making it.
They split the one book into two movies.
It's not like it's. There are other books where they do this, where it's like you didn't have to make that. You didn't have to. Like The Hobbit did not have to be 3 parts.
That was an obvious cash grab.
And a successful one at that.
Yes, very.
But obviously, The Hobbit is max 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
And not 3 hour 2 parts. It's like 2 hour, 2 hour. Like
And they made 3 hours.
Yikes. But this movie, or this Dune is dense enough.
Yeah.
And the world building is so extensive and it's so different than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised that we actually, and like after reading
Only
the book,
2.
I'm surprising that we ended where we did.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's like a third of the way through the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if they're going to do a part 3.
It would surprise me. The first one wasn't labeled Dune Part 1, so I know that's why we've talked about this, but I thought that was the whole movie. And
I thought it was labeled Part 1.
No. It might be now, but I swear the trailers were like, Dune. Dune is coming out.
Yeah, you're right. I think, yeah. I don't remember.
And then by the end of the movie, it was like, wait, what? I wanted to see the giant
I feel like
sandworm.
I knew that it was only Part 1. I went to go see it.
I think it was probably just on their poor advertising or something then.
Yeah.
Because I felt a little bamboozled. That's part of my, that's why I have a little bit negative emotion attached to that. Of like, I thought this was the whole movie.
Yeah.
And then the ending was just like, what? Where's the rest of the movie? And you're like, see you in 2 years.
Okay. I think it's been 3 now.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it came out in 2021.
So I'll probably, maybe I'll rewatch number 1 with my dad prior to going to see number 2, and I'll probably have a different opinion of it then.
Yeah.
Tune in 3 months to the 5G podcast.
Yeah.
In March. We'll probably talk about it.
100%. I plan on it. Even if it's a solo podcast. I'll do a whole episode by myself.
Just talking
hour
about
and
Dune.
a half on Dune.
Wow.
I love that world. The book is so freaking good.
The spice must flow.
Spice must flow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But where were we going? Wonka.
Wonka recommend to watch. Godzilla recommend to watch.
What were we saying?
No, Timothée Chalamet.
Oh yeah, Timothée Chalamet.
That was it.
He did very well in this movie.
Nice.
That was my point. That was he plays a very good Gene Wilder.
Yeah, young Gene Wilder. That's funny.
And he's kind of quirky and kind of like. Yeah, he did very well.
That's good then. That probably seems like an okay cast.
Yeah.
Other than probably just Gene Wilder. If you could just
make him young.
Yeah, just de-age him.
Unfortunately, you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, no.
And there was, the whole like diversity and inclusion thing.
Oh, sure.
Where they, 25% of the, X amount of the cast has to be whatever, right?
They were probably going for an Oscar or something, so.
But it didn't, because none of the characters had been written.
Yeah.
Like, you could throw these characters in and they fit in really well.
Oh, whatever.
Like, I thought they did wonderfully on, who they cast. Like, I didn't find the actors and actresses that they cast to be a cast. It feels like it was meritocratic.
Sure.
It feels like those actors were the best ones for that role.
Yeah, I as it should be.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
And the Key and Peele, the comedy series, he is the tall one.
Yeah,
taller one. I don't know. He's one of the main characters in it.
Interesting.
And he does a really good job.
Cool.
And one of the big bad guys is well, and also they did this. They kept the skin tones of people, which they kept the skin tones of people the same for their offspring.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Which is always like,
it's easy to follow in the story.
I don't understand.
I'm not racist.
Like, I've seen these movies where it's like, oh yes, the father is white, the mother is Chinese, and the daughter is black. And it's like, did you adopt? And it's like, no, this is just the daughter.
And you're like, that.
Like, that's not how life works.
I'm sorry.
That's not how this works.
That's not racism. That's just life.
Like, if the mother had been black and the child is half black because the father is white,
totally.
Or if the mother and father are both black, the child should be black. And if the mother and father are both white, the child should be white as well.
I learned
that's
this
how math works.
It's biology class. We drew
the
Punnett square with the chickens. All right, and it's just how it works. It's biology. And it's just needlessly confusing for your audience when you do things like that. Unless part of the story beat is like, oh yes, we adopted her. Like, otherwise, like, you're not going to waste time saying that. It's just easy to show your audience, parents, kid, done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they do that in this movie. It's all consistent, and so I'm like, this is great.
Yeah. So it's you could say that's a bit refreshing if it's not like there's nothing shoved down your throat about.
The cast was honestly refreshing.
Cool.
The cast was fantastic in the movie. I mean, like and believable in their personas.
Yeah,
you know, like if you took that person, how they acted, and put them into the real world, you're like, yes, they are that.
Sure.
Right? There's a chick plumber, who is very believable. There's an accountant who, like, if he was like my accountant, I'd be like, yeah, you're my accountant. You know, like it's a very good movie.
Cool.
High praises.
So your top movie of 2023 then?
Well, probably I'll Go Out on the Western Front.
Oh yeah, that was earlier this year.
That was this summer.
Yeah.
That one. That's probably my top movie of all time.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. It's probably pretty hard to beat.
I'm trying to think of other movies that came out this year that I was like super hyped on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I could probably go back and watch our episodes this year, but
Oppenheimer was decent.
Yeah,
it was good. Any superhero movies?
No.
Didn't Thor: Love and Thunder come out or whatever?
No, that was last year.
Was that last year?
Yeah, this year we got Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Very mediocre movie.
Yeah, it was the best Marvel movie to come out this year. But yeah, this year was Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Yeah, that's like saying like, oh yeah, the best time to poop is when it's not liquid.
Yeah. You're like,
it's still poop.
It's yeah. So like, yeah, that was fine, but not my favorite by any means. Not a top movie.
No.
DC had a bunch of just crap kicked out this year as well.
I didn't see any DC movie this year.
I think I also did not see a single one. They had like The Flash.
I don't like that actor.
No, I mean, who does? They should have scrapped the whole movie.
Well, and also there's like so much like crappy CGI in that trailer.
Yeah.
Where I was like you couldn't. You're a how many billion-dollar company? You couldn't bring for some decent CGI?
Not big enough.
Like I've seen freaking animated movies on YouTube that people do in their free time that were better than some of their CGI.
Aquaman just came out. That was no.
Well, that just came out. So
all right. Well, we'll hold our opinions.
I still probably. I don't know if I'm going to go see.
Go see Godzilla before Aquaman, please.
For sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
No, it's not. Disney didn't come out with anything good. They had a couple animated movies. Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, you probably didn't hear about any of them.
Oh, there was like the Emotions one that came out again or something like that, right?
I don't even know if that one came out yet. I don't know if that's till next year.
Oh, maybe I just saw the trailer.
Wish was their like big anniversary movie.
Wish,
yeah, exactly.
Didn't hear about it.
Yeah. Yep.
Didn't hear about it at all.
Nope.
Yeah, kind of a crappy year for movies.
Mm-hmm. And it's probably
except for like some of the independent ones, like All Quiet on the Western Front and Godzilla and
I'm sure there were
Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I didn't see the Barbie movie, but everyone said that one was good.
Was Top Gun earlier this year?
No, that was last year.
That was last year? Okay. Yeah. Mission Impossible was all right.
That was good.
That was pretty good.
No, that was really good, actually.
The one that came out this year?
Yeah.
I don't think that was like a knock your socks off. Like best movie ever.
It was a solid movie.
Yeah, it was enjoyable.
I think we had high praise for it in one of our previous episodes.
Pretty sure. Yeah, because you had recommended it, and then I went and saw it, and I was like, yeah, this was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited for part 2 of that.
Yeah, that's right. That was another one.
Yeah, I got caught off guard on that one as well.
Yeah, but again, we already talked about that. Of like they did kind of complete the story.
Yeah, for sure.
Also part 2.
There was the McGuffin, and they successfully completed getting the McGuffin.
Yes.
So,
but yeah, I don't know. Can't think of many other movies.
I need to keep a list of movies that I watch so that I can go back and like.
Well, I've heard rumblings online that it's probably going to be worse next year into 2025 as well because of the writer strike this year that lasted like 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Is that everything that they're writing now would have come out in 2024 or 25.
Yeah, I don't think that's... It might be an excuse that they use to like produce crap.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is going to be that way because they only stroked.
They had a stroke.
They stroked themselves?
Okay, yeah.
They only were on strike for like a couple of months, weren't they?
I thought it was closer to 6 for the.
Oh, was it 6 months?
For the writers guild, writer strike was a little bit shorter than the actor strike, but yeah.
Also,
it's Hollywood anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
As we've seen, you don't need Hollywood. You have these independent.
Also, why are there like multiple writers for movies? Like you should have like the creator of a story.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was part of their concession, Steven, is that every project in Hollywood needs a minimum of 5 writers that you have to pay a certain amount, regardless of what you're producing. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, but what if I would rather just pay one really good writer the sum of 5? Because it's like he's writing fantastically. Why do I have to pay 5 mediocre people? You have to pay minimum 5. It's unions, man. It's freaking weird.
That's weird.
That's Hollywood politics.
Let's start an Arizona Hollywood, an Arizona film company.
It's all just like John Wayne cowboy westerns.
No, I was just thinking like let's just start a film company that makes movies but doesn't have to deal with the bull crap of the.
Mm-hmm. You're like, you are good. Here, come make a movie. Done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, a meritocracy.
Huh?
How about that? Reward people based on their skills.
And then if you make good movies, people will reward you, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, as I was saying, we've got independent streaming services, independent movie companies. Like we don't need Hollywood anymore. Like Amazon and Netflix and those.
Amazon and Netflix are going to just. I think Amazon especially is just going to blow this off. Their budget is just so massive because they're in the. Amazon does something very, very good as a business. Because they've done this since like when Jeff Bezos founded the company.
Yeah.
There have never been a quarter to quarter company.
Sure.
Like most of the public companies are.
They're the long-term picture.
They're long-term picture. They don't care about their stock price. And Jeff Bezos talked about this on a book or interview or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, in the mid 2010s or whatever, when the stock price was going down, he was like, we were still profitable.
Interesting.
And so basically what he did is he just bought up a bunch of the stock through the company, just like, reinvested the profits into the company.
That's cool.
And just bought up a bunch of the stock and then just like consolidated it all and then was able to sell it off again
later at a higher amount.
And so like
it's pretty smart.
But they've always been in it for the long game. And so their budgets now that are, billions of dollars for some of these shows, well, they might not pay off now. I think they're building a fantastic foundation for their future endeavors.
Yeah.
Where I think they could be like
own the
world. Next Disney
thing.
Like you could have like an Amazon Web Studios.
Well, to that, it might be one negative, one subtraction from their points. I don't know if you saw they sent out some emails or letters or whatever. Come 2024, they're doing kind of 2 different tiered subscription plans for Prime Video.
Jeez.
So you're going to get the one subscription plan is going to have ads now on your Prime Video streaming.
Well, take everything I said about Amazon.
Yep.
Throw it out the window.
You got to pay the premium for the no ads version now.
How much more is it?
Like $4 or $5.
Okay.
For no ads. And I've seen a lot of defenders of it are like, well, okay, you also get the Prime shipping benefits.
Yeah.
Prime Video was always just an extra.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm like, okay, that's fine, I guess. So now it's like you get the normal price as it is now. You get the shipping plus the Prime Video, and then you can pay the like $4 or $5 extra for the Prime Video premium of no ads. Yeah. Free people, you get nothing. You get nothing. You lose. It's a Willy Wonka themed episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I'd have to marinate on that one.
Sure. I saw it pop up this week for fans of Invincible, right? Season 2, because they split it into 2 halves, and they were like, so that's why they split it into 2 halves. They want us to pay extra for the second half of no ads.
Yeah, if I'm paying, I mean, I get, it's just cable at this point.
It's just cable, yeah.
It's very annoying.
So, I'll let you marinate, ruminate.
Touch back on that one. What is your favorite movie of the year?
I think it's Godzilla. That's an easy one to pick because it's the most recent one I saw. But yeah, nothing else totally wowed me this year. Again, like you said, I could go back and make a list, perhaps, but maybe I'll have to apologize next week of like, actually, this movie was amazing.
Let me see if I can pull up real quick. Ryan and I go to Cinemark.
Oh, okay.
Movies, and we have the Cinemark app, and I wonder if I can see like my tickets that I've gotten.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom. Again, another indie company.
Yeah.
That did come out. That's true. I saw that, 4th of July?
Yeah.
That was pretty solid.
That was very good.
Sound of Freedom.
Sound of Freedom.
Which is out on Amazon Prime. I saw that yesterday. It's out on streaming now.
I did see that, actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's exciting. Right. That's right.
And then there might have been something from like early this year.
I'm trying to remember if I saw anything like last Christmas, New Year's time. I guess that would technically be 2022. But
sure.
I can't remember anything that was like crazy. Anyway, yeah. What else do we got on this list? How much time do we got left?
23
hours. Cool. All right. Well, let's do your top Magic the Gathering product / card this year that came out.
What top Magic the Gathering product? None of them. They all sucked.
That can be your answer.
Yeah, 2023 was the year I stopped buying Magic. So, because Commander Masters just broke me.
You were kind of almost nearly broken on Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings was the last cards I bought. That's true. And Commander Masters broke me. That was the
final straw on the camel's back.
Straw that broke the camel's back. Yep. Because there were several things before that. Magic 30th was another big one. That was I think that was very early this year, if I'm not mistaken. So we didn't end up talking about it on our podcast. But that was a snafu. Yeah, Lord of the Rings was all right. We weren't high on the cards, but as far as a crossover, all right, the art was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We made this joke several times, but I think the Warhammer decks were pretty good. No, those came out last year. They were pretty good. Yeah, none of the standard sets really amazed me for anything this year. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't have a top.
Yeah, I was thinking Eldraine.
Eldraine, yeah.
Kind of the top set that I read about, and it seemed like all the card design, the new cards were pretty good.
Pretty decent.
I think the Sir Ginger.
Oh yeah, the colorless.
Yeah, as a card was really cool. Mother Goose was also another one where it was
Goose was
pretty good card. There was a couple of enchantments from Eldraine.
Yeah, there were some good reprints in Eldraine. I'll give them that.
So I think my top is Eldraine.
Yeah, the Wilds of Eldraine.
Just because I think that they did well on the design of the cards and the art and everything like that. So
it's pretty cool, the fairy tale set. That's why the Mother Goose or the Gingerbread Man.
And I just kind of like that style where it's yes, we have 8-headed Hydra, goose.
But now it's a goose.
It's a goose. And we call it something funny.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the Mother Goose. I think it's the Goose Mother is what they called it, though.
The Great Goose Mother.
Yeah, something like that. So anyway, that's kind of
Yeah, I'm trying to think of even some of my favorite sets. I'm these were all last year, actually. Brothers War I really enjoyed. There's just a bunch of cool robots and stuff.
Yeah.
That was actually last year. So I'm trying to think what else was standard this year. Wilds of Eldraine. Was the Phyrexia one this year? All Will Be One? Or March of the Machines. Those were both the two Phyrexian ones.
I think All Will Be One was this year.
Yeah. Well, and then they had the little mini set that came after that. Modern? No, I don't think Modern had a set this year.
Anyway.
I did actually spend money on Magic the Gathering yesterday for the first time ever. Oh, first time in a long time. I know. I bought secondhand cards from a card shop. I assembled a Pauper deck.
Oh, very fun.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, maybe I'm not liking. Well, nobody plays Standard anymore. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Commander's not filling the right
gap for you
there. Yeah, and at least not anymore, or not lately. We've talked about that ad nauseum. And a couple of the competitive Magic formats haven't really been doing it for me. Modern is just like so price gated now. Pioneer, I tried for a little bit, and I thought that would be fun, but it's like, it's just more people chasing the meta decks, which is kind of dumb. Like, guys, this is supposed to be the fun competitive format where you can do whatever you want. No, they're all doing the same thing. It's the same 3 decks over and over again. So I was like, okay, how about Pauper? Everybody advertises Pauper is a cheap barrier to entry because it's only the common cards.
Yeah.
Only common rarity. Cheap barrier to entry and like a diverse meta. There's lots of different things you can do. So I was like, why not? I gathered together a bunch of cards that I had here at home, went to a card shop and spent maybe $5 to finish the rest of my deck. And then, so I have a Pauper deck put together. I'm like, all right. Haven't played any yet, but I actually spent money on Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, $5 doesn't count, I don't think.
No, yeah. But for like 20 cards to like fill out the rest of my deck, means my whole deck would have been like $10. Like, all right, more to come, more to report.
And is it a 100-card deck? Or?
No, it's just 60. 60 card deck with a 15 card sideboard, and it's 1v1. You play best 2 out of 3. So.
Cool.
So I needed like 4 copies of Lightning Bolt or whatever, things like that. I needed 4 ofs for the consistency.
Sure.
It's like, all right, that might fill my gap, that niche I want for like competitive 1v1 Magic.
Yeah. No, that sounds fun though.
I'll have to see if that's any fun.
Sounds fun.
If it's only $10 to build a deck, I might build a second one, and then I can throw them at somebody else.
Yeah.
In our friend group, like, hey, let's play.
For sure.
So.
That makes, Magic's fun. I enjoy Magic.
That's my Magic news. Magic update.
I enjoy Magic. Well, we have 2 more, or what do we got on here?
Tell me about Glock.
Yeah, so I wanted to put this on here.
Yeah.
Because the founder and creator of Glock, the gun company, has passed away.
Father Glock.
Gaston Glock. Has passed away.
What a name.
Yeah, it's really like...
Dude, alliteration. He sounds like a comic book character.
Or like a superhero. Or probably more like an evil guy.
Yeah. Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Wade Wilson. Clark Kent is 2 k sounds.
Yeah, no, that's alliteration.
It feels like a comic book. Scott Summers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Peter Parker's girlfriend?
There's Mary Jane, and then there's Gwen Stacy, and then there's...
No, it's not who I'm thinking of. Isn't there one named Piper?
No, that's Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts.
Iron Man's girlfriend.
That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Pepper Potts is who I'm thinking of. Anyway.
Yeah. Gaston Glock.
Gaston Glock is, in my opinion, the last... I want to say this carefully.
I think I know what you're trying to get at.
He is the last great gun culture creator, gun founder. Right?
It's safe to say he's the last one of the old guard.
He's the last of the old guard. That's a very good way of putting it.
Because Kalashnikov is gone, Browning is gone.
Stoner. Browning, I would say, is the beginning of the old guard.
Okay.
So if we have let's call it the 20th century gun makers.
Mm-hmm. Sure, that's a good way of putting it.
We're going to start them in the 1880s, and move them into 2023, basically. Mm-hmm. So there's 140, give or take,
of like the old gun makers
this really revolutionary group of people who took all of that the Industrial Revolution had to provide them and said, like, I'm going to make this my,
legacy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's the word you were going to use.
And there was a bunch of people who fit into this category, but Glock was one of the older of that group of people.
Yeah,
but he really did revolutionize the entire gun industry.
Totally.
Because probably 25% of all guns sold in the world are somehow based off of his designs.
Yeah. If not directly a Glock.
I don't know what the numbers of like Glock sales around the world is.
They got to be good, but
for sure.
Because U.S. law enforcement, that's a standard. Is Glocks. So.
Yeah. And so
and his designs are so influential that a lot of other
every single gun company on the planet, if they're like a big gun company, makes a polymer framed, striker fired, drop safe pistol.
You gotta
stamped sheet metal parts.
You gotta compare to Glock, yeah.
And that's what Glock did. Is he took, because prior to Glock, and people don't understand this, prior to Glock making his guns, you had like the Browning family, which is the 1911, the high power. You had the Beretta family, which are not similar in style necessarily to the Browning family, because Brownings all use tilting barrel actions, and Berettas are all fixed barrels.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't realize that.
Not all, but a good portion of them are fixed barrels. The 92, which is the classic, the dual pistols on. Dual Beretta on CS. Those are Beretta 92s.
92s, yeah.
And those are fixed barrels.
Fixed barrel.
They use a different... anyway. But they were all machined. Right? The frames were machined. The individual pieces, like the safeties, were machined. So you had to take this block of steel
and
CNC machine it, or however,
cut it out.
And then Glock came around, and he was like, "But why do that when polymer is getting good?"
Yeah,
and this is in the 60s, 70s. He's like, "Well, polymers are great," so he just made these polymer guns. All of his little safeties and slide releases and things like that were stamped pieces of sheet metal, where it's like you take a flat piece of metal, stamp, and fold it and bend it, and do whatever you need to get it into the correct shape.
And you can do more than one at a time.
Yeah.
So,
and it's infinitely cheaper. His gun is a striker gun, which is a much simpler
mechanic,
simpler design. The slide is basically just a U-shaped tube, and then there's an end cap on each side that is replaced.
Pretty simple.
The barrel is the action. He did borrow the action from a Browning because it is a tilting barrel for lockup and things like that. But he really revolutionized the gun industry, in my opinion. Just like Eugene Stoner and just like Kalashnikov did in their respective spheres of influence. He
probably started a lot of the precedent for polymers. Like,
he's the only he's the only, like, him and maybe the Koch family.
Oh, okay.
Heckler and Koch.
Yeah, Heckler and Koch. Yep.
HK. But I think Glock is the one that really took it from. We have like one or two
like
parts.
A theory of like, these polymer things. Woo.
He really did revolutionize the gun industry, and so he died just maybe a week ago.
Okay, yeah.
This past week, since
gotcha. Yeah, I'm curious, how long did he like kind of stepped away from the company? He must have been pretty old.
Oh, he was old. He was born in the 30s, so he was 90 something.
Yeah, almost made it 100.
Yeah, he did. So he'd been away for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But
retired.
Honestly, Glock as a company has really been, well, they've got some weird things that were his passion projects as well.
Oh, sure.
Like, the guns are the main thing, right?
Yeah.
But they also have breeding racehorses.
Interesting.
And they sell, like, you can buy tubs of Glock horse semen.
Okay.
Like you can go on their website and just order a tub of official Glock horse cum.
You need a champion breed.
Something.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they sell that.
Okay, Glock. They're Austrian, right? Maybe that's a cultural difference.
It must be, because for me that's a weird, like, oh yeah, guns and horse.
That's how do these businesses combine? Yeah.
Anyway, so but I mean, all their money is from their firearms.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I was sad to hear that, and I'm not even like a Glock fanboy.
No. But it's like, as you said, it's like it's another gun legacy.
Yeah,
a gun legend passed away.
And like, if without him, I mean, maybe someone would have come around and like done the same thing, but he really was the pioneer for polymer and injected firearms, and
that's awesome.
So anyway,
R.I.P. to Gaston Glock.
Yeah, we'll have to do like a little like history episode sometime of like my old guard, or like the 20th century gun makers. Starting with like Maxim and his Maxim machine guns.
Oh, sure.
Things like that, and then delve into the family of the Nagant.
The Nagant. You got it. You got to go into Nagant
like that. Browning, obviously. Then you move from Browning and some of the other German gun makers and the Russian gun makers. You move from them, who are kind of middle of the pack, into the real changers of the world of Kalashnikov and Eugene Stoner, developers of the AK family and AR family of rifles, respectively. And then from then, honestly, from then, it's just been iterations of ARs, AKs, and then Glock came along and was like, well, let's just do plastic too. And like, everyone was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Doors open for new people to come in, but nobody.
It really is. No, it really is. And I think 2020, 2021 was really the year where everyone was like, we can do different stuff now.
Yeah.
There's only a few people doing it. And so, to be fair, there is a South African guy who makes some really out of this world wacky guns that are super sick, but that are so they don't have, they're so niche that he's not gonna have the popularity or the ubiquitousness of his designs permeate throughout the world, Browning and Glock and Stoner and Kalashnikov, right? But there's a crap. Where's he from? I think he's Czech designer who developed a gun called the Laugo Alien.
Interesting.
And it looks like an alien pistol. Like, it looks sick.
Like straight out of a sci-fi movie.
But it's supposed to be one of the best pistols ever.
Huh.
It has like the lowest. It's like very low recoiling. Perfect for keeping your optics on target, your sight on target. It's a beautiful looking. It looks gorgeous as well. They're really stupid expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's a gas operated pistol instead of a blowback or a tilting barrel operating pistol.
Interesting.
Hammer fired, but it's an internal hammer, and it doesn't come up like that. It comes down like that.
Oh.
Instead of like, hammers normally go whoop-bah.
Yeah.
This one goes whoop-bah.
I guess it's internal anyway, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think that's where we're kind of starting to see, like,
we're having some new experimental guys testing things out,
and so it'll be a while until and I think right now optics are really what needs to improve.
Yeah,
the gun systems that we have are so accurate already that there's not really any way to improve them necessarily.
No, it would just seems like it's just people doing stuff for fun.
Well, and there are micro improvements that you can make here and there, and the accumulation of all these micro improvements will create a large change over time. But it's not going to be like, oh yeah, it's a new gun system. Right? They're all based off of, we're making an AK better. It's still an AK though. Yeah,
but that is interesting. You think back to history of like, okay, we went from like a musket to like cartridges, like we don't have any other big developments like that of like, this is a repeating rifle. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean we went from lever guns to bolt guns, bolt guns to semi-autos to autos.
Yeah.
And since then,
you're right, the optics have gotten better.
And the operating systems have been cleaned up a little bit. They've been tuned, to make them the rifles recoil less or stay flatter, but it's not a different system.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the same the system that the M1 Garand used has been around for longer than the M1 Garand was a thing, right?
100+ years,
and it still works. And no one really uses a short stroke piston anymore.
But you could.
You could. Yeah. 100% you could. 100% you could.
So you think in our lifetime we'll see another big gun improvement, or probably just optics for our lifetime?
I think optics are already kind of at their... I think the experimental optics that are out right now are probably the best ones we're going to get.
Yeah.
In terms of like the biggest leap, right? There might be micro improvements to like get us a couple more percentage points of improvement, but I think that we're almost nearly, at least from what I can tell, you know, maybe there's something I'm not thinking of, and there might be some esoteric thing that you could change that would, you know, affect something, but for the most part, I think we're probably at 90% optic capacity.
Sure. We're kind of at the end of that development cycle.
Because that's been going on for the past 30 years.
Totally.
You know, optics have been developing dramatically for the past 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
And so I think that's kind of where we're at with that. I think gun-wise, I really think that we're going to start seeing some new people come to market.
Yeah.
Because everyone makes... I think the problem is that everyone makes a Glock variant
because it's successful. You know it's going to sell.
And you know there are some pistols that are better than Glocks, but they're all based on a Glock.
Yeah.
Right?
Nobody. Well, again, I don't want to generalize, but it's like we need more people trying to experiment.
We do, no, for sure, because at least in the U.S. and mostly around the world as well, the designs that are sold are Glocks, AR-15s. Or AR-10s, really.
Yeah, sure.
And AK, the AK family.
Because if you and I were to start a gun company tomorrow, we would do our research, be like, okay, how to make a gun, what sells, what's popular, and it's those that you just listed.
Exactly. So I think the next step that we're going to see in gun development is with the same types of guns, but they're going to be more technology integrated.
Yeah, I was about to say you almost got to go the sci-fi angle a little bit.
No, you 100% do. It really is. That's like the next step is
put some magnets in there.
Well, you know,
particle acceleration.
Well, not even that. I think we're going to use like 9mm until 9mm becomes like 9mm is such an efficient cartridge that it's not going to go away until we get away from kinetic cartridges.
Sure,
in my opinion, right?
Yeah, that's a fair point. It's not like we're getting rid of like lead balls like they did back in.
Exactly. I think what we're going to see is that kinetic weapons, meaning, you know, cartridge 9mm handguns, 223 rifles, that type of gun, traditional guns that we know are going to be around for until we can figure out a new technology. Right?
Yeah.
But I think they're just going to integrate more technology into those systems.
Yeah, just to make it better.
You're going to have a pistol that has an integrated red dot instead of having to add a red dot to it. Right? Yeah. And you're going to have rifles that have integrated optics and integrated, you know, it's all going to be part of a package. It's not going to be, you're not going to have to buy a rifle and then buy an optic and then buy a laser and then buy a flashlight and then, you know, all this other stuff. Right?
It's really neat to think about because it's like, thinking back to history of like, to be fair, that was sort of the age of invention of, you know, human enlightenment or whatever. But it's like, okay, guys, we have this gun, but what if we rifle the barrel?
Yeah.
It's like, we're not at our point in history where we're doing that.
No, but I think we're so you can see this throughout history, and there's a book on this that I read.
I'm sure people are going to write history books about our time. There are going to be
for sure
inventions and things,
but there's always this compression. So there's always so when speaking of invention, right? Not as like society in general or like economics or anything like that, but invention, it's always this compression and then expansion, right?
Oh, okay. So I can see that already.
So there's this burst of creativity, and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, there's so many new things. Like, what do we do with this? And then there's this compression of everyone's making those things better.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you think
integrating,
of it, yeah. So if you think of it as like kind of like an inchworm, right? So it grows, and then the back catches up, and then it grows again, right? And I think we're on that compressed stage right now, at least in firearms design, right? I'm sure this is like a thing. It's not like everything in the world, because obviously like cell phone technology and electronics have been like expanding dramatically.
Their cycles are a bit quicker, yeah.
But for firearms technology, I think we're at that compressive point right now, where I don't know what point we're compressing, but we're definitely not expanding right now. Yeah. Unless we're at the very beginning of that expansion.
And we just don't know because it's all behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are companies and, DARPA, or whoever is working on,
laser weapons.
Well, they already have those.
Well, yeah, that's true.
On large scale. Laser weapons already exist for the military. Railguns already exist. They're feasible
just not
right now with
efficient.
Our current technology. They're super efficient.
Yeah.
They just destroy themselves.
Right.
They plasma fight themselves.
Depends how you define efficiency.
Yes.
1,000% efficiency for one shot.
Yeah, they're really good for one shot, and then after about 2 shots, you're like, my barrel is melted.
Yes.
Because there's so much friction around the... Anyway.
That's a cool theory, though. Yeah, the expansion compression. I like the visual on that. That's very interesting to think about. Like,
yeah. So where are we going? I think in the next 20 years, we'll see a lot of interesting things coming out where people are like trying to experiment. Like, hey, what about this?
Yeah.
And we see that with cartridges and things like that right now.
What about a Glock that's also a revolver?
We'll call it the Glovolver.
The Glovolver. No, yeah, sorry, that one gets scrapped. Throw that one in the trash bin.
A rock. We'll call it a rock.
A rock. There we go. That's better. A
revolver Glock is a rock. You just throw a rock at someone. Don't make me pull out my rock.
Yeah. Exciting to see.
Yeah. So there's Gaston Glock and his legacy and
some cool history technology bits. I like talking that. So
yeah. Maybe we should just turn this into a Magic the Gathering and technology podcast.
Yeah, nerd stuff.
Yeah. Anyway. There it is.
Yeah. Till next time.
On the 5G Podcast.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the 5G Podcast.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more.
And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.